afternoon, everybody. This is Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show. I'm your host, and the show is not about me, even though it's my name. The show is about the influencers that are in our world, and we have real conversations with real influencers. Today's guest is a real influencer. I believe she's been in the industry about 25 years. She's she looks good for she started when she was like 3 years old because she looks really good for her age. And she's going to be sharing with us some great tips about what things she's done, the people she's known in the industry. We're probably going to figure out where we've known each other because we're trying to figure out beforehand where we knew each other from. Who knows? We'll find out in a conversation today, which is what this show is about. Our guest, Debbie Allen, all right, she is known as, all right, the expert on experts. And I'm looking forward just to having a great conversation. So let's bring her up here live and have a chat. Debbie, how are you?
Hey, Tim. Great to be here on the show with you today.
Well, it is good to have you. And I do got to ask, all right, where part of the country you live in?
Phoenix, Arizona. Sunny and beautiful winters. Love it. My mom was
don't you have all the snowbirds there right now?
Indiana. Yeah. I grew up in Indiana. It's like I couldn't handle a snowstorm again.
Yeah. I was thinking like the snowbirds come there and like your traffic's bad for like 3 months.
Yeah, it is. But we'll share.
I have the first 5 years I did speaking, I would go out to Phoenix every summer.
Why?
Excuse me.
That would make me sneeze too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the time to come.
I know. And worse.
When did you come back? You came at the wrong time.
I know. I would come on my motorcycle. Worse than that. So I sweated the whole way there, the whole way back.
We'll come back in the winter. We'll have you.
I got to come back in the wintertime. So I got some great friends out there in the Phoenix, Arizona area. You know Jeff Fagan?
Yes, I know him very well.
Yeah.
He's good friends of T.R. Becker, who's also a good friend. And and we, I think speakers come here to retire or something. It's like the speaker world. We have, a lot of them in this area, but it's good to have the choices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have found over the past, I've been doing this, 12 years. And that I see a lot of people in Phoenix as well as I see a lot of people in Vegas. And now I'm seeing a lot more of us. I've been in Dallas since 1998 and I started speaking in 2009. And I see a lot of people in Dallas because it's the heart of the country. And I know a lot of people, I know a few friends that moved here to Dallas from California in the past year or so. But Phoenix, all right, I take it everybody out there in the speaker world, I guess you probably have a really good, like, what is it? The speakers, the professional speakers group. I can't think of it. National Speakers Association.
Speakers. Yeah, I've been a member for 25 years. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot. It was a great, training ground for me, of course. And if you're a professional speaker, it's where you need to be. I'm still a member. But now as an expert in the speaking business, I teach people to become experts who speak professionally. So I get a lot of clients actually from that. I think I spoke at every single chapter of National Speakers and many across the world as well. Speaking now is just a way to look at it as a way to get your message out. And anybody that wants to get ahead now needs to position themselves as some kind of authority or expert to really stand out. Otherwise, you're swimming in the sea of sameness with everybody else.
Mm-hmm. That's why I started a podcast. Well, no, I started a podcast because my coach made me. I wanted to do a blog.
Yeah, I think I'm quitting my blog. So the blogs are going like vlogs. They're video blogs now because we've been so used to watching fast stuff and media, and we want video. Now you're here on StreamYard, and we're going live, and it's like be able to be on your own studio in your home, wherever you want to be, and network to the world. That's just it's amazing times we live in, actually.
It is. And you know what I mean? I didn't want to get on video. I didn't want to do the podcast, like the audio version. I started that in 2012 and I didn't want to do that. I loved blogging. To me, I would rather hide behind my screen and just put stuff up. I don't like being on camera, but they wanted to see me on camera. I don't get it. Like, you're prettier on camera than I am. I don't get why they want to see this.
But see, you got used to it. It's like any modality, just like any skill that you need to learn, as like speaking or anything else that we do, is that we're not comfortable at first. Like even on video, I could be in front of thousands of people and put me in front of a video with that little red light. I was nervous at first. It's like another thing to learn. But I was the same way with my podcast. It's like just getting used to those conversations. And I think it's fun when you have somebody else on and introduce them to other people. I'll have to have you on my podcast as well, Tim. It's called Access to Experts. So you're truly the expert to be on here now.
Yeah, cool. So, well, I want to go back to when you started in speaking. Debbie, why did you get started in speaking? What was the story? What made you say, I'm going to be a speaker?
Well, I don't think I ever said that because I didn't know you could make money at it. I'm like the accidental entrepreneur, I guess. I've never used that word, but I kind of am, because anything I think I want to do this, but then I don't know anything about it. And I would just jump in and then find somebody to mentor me and help me along the way. So, I started growing up in business in a family business. So I was still in high school, and then I would take the school bus to my family business. And it was a car rental business right outside of Gary, Indiana. And it's pretty much the armpit of the world. I have to say that. So I've been there, great place to grow up and learn lessons, but get out of there. Is because we started a car rental business because it was the number one thing. It was the number one place in the country for car thefts. So, hey, if cars are being stolen, you need to rent people cars. Yeah, and so my dad was a car salesman for 20 some years. And then he said, hey, I started this leasing company for this business, and I think I can do my own. So we started out with 5 rental cars, and then I joined quickly out of high school. I never applied for a job in my life. I have never gone to a day of college. I just went right into the family business. And so in my 20s, I'm running a business that grew exponentially, like so quickly. We went from 5 cars to 250 cars. We also formed many different businesses. Like my dad was the crazy entrepreneur starting a new business every 6 months, but he started a couple good ones, which was the car rental and also mini storage. We were the first right outside of Chicago to do mini storage. And, he had bankers telling him it's crazy, it's a fad. And kept believing it. So I look back and I say that was kind of one of my first mentors. My dad is like some lessons I learned, in my 20s, those first 10 years of my career. But I wanted to be a business owner very, very early on. And I think it was my independence. So I went to him at age 19. I said, I want to buy into the business. That was a really good decision. Bought into the business. And I stayed there for 10 years until we sold all the mini storage businesses to a major company called Public Storage. Then I just looked for the next thing. So I call it the next chapter, Tim. Like, okay, what's the next chapter? I don't have any idea what to do. I'm not going to apply for a job. So what's out there? And then my mom had a store, a retail clothing store, which was more like a hobby. And she lost money for 6 years. And she says, well, I'm going to move away to Florida. So why don't you buy my business? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know anything about retail, but sounds like a lot more fun than repossessing rental cars, which you have to do on the weekends. It's like getting Gary, for gosh sake, right? Yeah. In the drug war times. I mean, it's crazy. But I look back and I go, all that stuff I learned prepared me for to buy a business I knew nothing about. I found people that it was a group of my first mentors that took me under their wing. And I took that business from 100,000 to a multi-million-dollar business within the first 2 years. And I remember what my dad said, make it more than just a hobby. And I'm like, wow, that stayed with me forever. So I was in that for 15 years, building and selling retail stores. That was always my model. As an entrepreneur, you either need to build to sell or build to magnify. So I did both. Then I was done with that, looking for my next chapter. And I went to one of those huge trade shows where I buy all my stuff for my store. And I said, why are you not training people to be successful? Like, there's no seminars or anything. Like, you just sell to them and then send them home. I said, and so my salesman said, you could do that. You've had such success stories. You could be a speaker. You could teach that. And I'm like, yeah, I could do that. You ever say to yourself, Tim, yeah, I can do that. And then the day comes and you're like, oh no,
how do I do
it? Right. But then I even told the host, I was so confident. I don't know where this confidence came from, but I said, I'm going to fill the room, standing room only. And when I do, I'll prove to you need seminars, and you'll bring me back and pay me every time. You'll refer me to 3 other clients that'll pay me. And so he agreed. We put that into writing, and I filled the room, standing room only. And that's how I started my speaking business. And so I never really had to try. I just kind of jumped into it. And then I found out it was a business. And then I became, the top of that business. And then you just keep reinventing, like you have, Tim. Like, everybody just has to keep reinventing. True entrepreneurs, I think when they get it all dialed in, they go, yeah, that was fun. I got it all dialed in and making money. This is good. But what's next?
Yeah. I got to tell you, that's been me. I worked in the auto industry as well. I mean, I worked in the auto all the way up to 2004. I sold my last auto company, and I said I was done with automotive. And it's so interesting to find how many people that I meet along the way who are in the automotive industry in one way. or another. I was fortunate enough that one of my car wash clients was Zig Ziglar, who said, "You should be a speaker." And I'm like, "Me? Who wants to hear me?" You know.
Maybe I met you at the SEMA show. I spoke at that a few times. The big car show, the aftermarket. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet that probably I'm probably seeing you there too. You know, it's just you know, bizarre how, you know, so many of us, and I know a lot of the people who started in the automotive industry and then they would leave. You know, for me, it was working on the mechanic side, but I owned dealerships and stuff like that along the way. So yeah. So
See, I would have guessed that you had a rock band. And
I know everybody says that, and I tell people I was really good in the 1970s. I learned the instrument of the 8-track.
Oh,
In the
yeah, right. Me
80s, I
too.
learned
Yeah,
the 90s, I learned the CD.
8-track. What's that?
Yeah. Now I'm a master of the iPod. That's my instrument. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, I do love music. I do love being around. And my first blog was called Rocker Life Coach, and I was doing things like I would talk about how a rock and roll song motivated me. And I started the blog not knowing, and I wrote a blog one day that everybody showed up to when I talked about a song that motivated me. So then everything became rock and roll, and eventually I just went, you know, it's just not me. I can't play an instrument. I don't have a history in rock and roll. And, you know, one thing that Zig told me when I was young, just be you. Quit trying to, don't be Zig. Don't be, you know, Larry Wingett. Don't be, you know, Scott McCain. Be Tim. And that's where I had to learn to just be me and figure it out along the way.
Yeah, Scott's got the good radio voice.
I know.
It's just off the chain. Everybody's got their own thing, right? You got to be yourself. And so I like your simple, easy marketing, because if you're just yourself and you magnify that into that expert world, it's like amazing things can happen, because then people remember you like, oh yeah, that's the guy that did whatever. You know, I have a name that's really easy to remember, Debbie Allen, and it's like Debbie Allen of fame, right? They think of bringing the speaker and they're expecting her to come in. And I always kind of make fun of that, but it's like, remember my name. So it's even then, people, whatever it is that you tell a story or your name or how you market or some kind of message that you left is what people will always remember. And that's simple. Even, you know, simple, easy marketing is telling your story or telling your stories of your clients.
Yeah, it is. So, and like we stumbled on that because I was trying to find a trademark, because my last name's Gillette. All right. And let me tell you, put Gillette in something and find out how fast the Gillette Corporation comes after you. Not fun. They have more money than me. But anyway,
you should have got at least like 0.5% or something. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
But I did find out. That's how I found out about trademarks. Why we went after Simple Easy Marketing. You know, I did several different stints of what I did along the way, and it was a growing process. How many different angles did you go about in the speaking industry before you focused in on where you're at now, helping the experts be experts?
Well, there's a lot, you know, a lot of reinventions, you know, so, you know, every time I get into something, I set a goal. And so when I got into speaking business, I joined National Speakers Association, and it was like the top of the National Speakers Association is the certified speaking professional. And it's 5% or less of professional speakers earn that designation. You have to earn it, which means you work really hard. You have to have 100 different clients over a 5-year period of time, you know, a huge number of testimonials, and you have to document all this. So that was my goal, get my certified speaking professional. And I got that. And then, you know, so, you know, about that time, you know, I started out in the association business, then was pretty much the highest paid speaker in the association business. I had to reinvent myself and write another book that really fit for that. And I came out with a book called Confessions of Shameless Self-Promoters, which really threw me into the keynote world, believe it or not. I was really busy keynote speaker in front of thousands of people, teaching them shameless self-promotion, including, of course, political organizations, real estate, political, mortgage, real estate. I had a massive market, right? And so that was just cooking. It was just great. And then 2008 hit, crash, burn. There's no business for speakers, especially the highest paid speakers. You know, in that financial crisis was like a pandemic. It lasted a really long time. Like, is this ever going to go away? So I reinvented myself and went internationally, because, you know, in 3 months' time, 80% of my business was international. So I just started switching my marketing up, and really it was easier. I mean, talk about simple, easy marketing. It was like I had my website up, I had my expertise. And since I had that credibility when I was trying to, you know, go speak internationally, and just say, hey, I'm already going to be in Australia. I could speak for your group. And it was super easy because now we're getting an international expert. And they didn't have to pay the fee because I was already over there. So that's kind of how I launched the international. And I stayed 3 years internationally, the majority of the time, in 28 countries. And an amazing experience, but a tiring experience. You couldn't keep up, forever.
A lot of travel.
So, the economy was starting to change again, coming back. I had to come back and reinvent myself again. And when I reinvented myself, I wanted to teach what I had learned during those 3 years, because partly I started out as a paid speaker. And then partway through that tour, I turned into a speaker who speaks and sells. So I would go and do a workshop for one, like a full day workshop, and then sell a $20,000 program. And you don't have to get a lot of clients to do that. You're going from one city to the next. And so then I started teaching people that about 10 years ago, how to be experts who could speak and sell, on stages. And now, of course, it's online through webinars.
Yeah, I know. I was learning the webinar and the online. I mean, when Blab live streaming was the huge uptick in my business, because I was great at figuring out stuff online and then working the simple stuff. And I at the time, I did not want to be on video, but like I at the time, I think Blab, within like 3 or 4 days, I had like 2,000 followers that I didn't know. I'm like, who the hell, how did that happen? And that's where my coach, I don't know if you know, my coach is Craig Duswalt. Craig says, Tim, he says, Tim, all right, who cares? It's what they want. Give them what they want.
That's true. Give them what they want. And obviously, you have a great brand of simple, easy marketing, because most people don't like marketing. I happen to love marketing. I was a student of marketing, and that's, how I really grew my business. So I believe you're really good at marketing and sales. You can do just about any kind of business you want, but most people just avoid it. So you have to learn it, or you have to get a mentor that teaches you, or something, because everything is marketing, is putting yourself out there. And I don't know why people, come into this world and their business world, and then they feel like, well, if I talk about myself and what my expertise is, and I talk about I have 10 books and I do all this stuff, then is that bragging? No, it's sharing your expertise. And that's what people need to hear when you market yourself. And I don't know where people get into their heads thinking that feels braggadocious, because we base our business decisions on credibility and experts and authorities. And that's the way everything is positioned.
And I remember Craig telling me, I did my first book, I didn't have my picture on it, but a second book and stuff, I put my picture on it, and I hate putting my picture on it, right?
See?
And he says, it's not about you. He says that just shows them credibility. And I remember my early blog, I had sunglasses on. All right. So you couldn't see my eyes. And I remember when I took the glasses off and I had pictures done with my eyes, how quickly my audience grew. And there's something about the eyes and marketing. They want to know that they can trust you. The eyes show them, and they want to know that they can see your face. So they go, okay, I can study this person's face and know that they're a reputable person. And that's marketing in a roundabout way.
Right. And anytime I think that, as experts, and as we get used to our careers and being out there, we find ways to share our voice in a way that it doesn't have to please everybody. In fact, sometimes being controversial in what you're messaging can be very good. That's why my book, Confessions of Shameless Self-Promoters, was such a big hit. And it also aligned me with a lot of other high-level people, because I interviewed like Dan Kennedy and Joe Vitale and, every good marketing person, Bill Glazer, and then they ended up buying all these books because they loved it. So I promoted the book to the top marketing experts to align myself to connect with them, which was a really brilliant idea, more than I even imagined at the time. So when I started doing my own live events, been doing those, 15 years, I would invite those people to come and speak, and they'd always come and speak for free and just be at my event because of the relationship that we had. And that book was, again, I reinvented myself with that book because I had to get out of the retail world and get into a general market. And I really believe that simple, easy marketing is promoting yourself. And sometimes that's all you have, because I was so tired of people coming up to me and saying, I don't have much of a marketing budget. I'm like, you're your own budget. Like, what are you doing to market yourself and your business? And I was just like crickets, right? Okay, I need to teach this. And because, growing up as an entrepreneur at such a young age, I didn't know anything but self-promotion.
Yeah.
And there's a way of doing it I call it shameful self-promotion and also shameless, which is, putting out there, looking for the opportunities, but connecting your head and your heart together in a way that's a beautiful art form, not braggadocious or where it turns people away. And so I was teaching this to audiences and getting people on stage and seeing them just switch like within a few minutes from their mindset that they had a belief system around what was holding them back, and see them switch, live on stage. It was really cool to do. And then I was on doing a lot of radio shows, and then I sent my books out to a lot of radio shows at that time, and that's how I got on the Howard Stern show. Mm-hmm. And that is like, get the guest. That's not your typical radio show. Talk about nervous. That's like, I had to have a coach for that, because I had somebody else that was in the book that actually had been on that show, and I was like, okay, you're gonna have to coach me to get ready for this.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: with the Howard Stern show, was that before he went to satellite radio, or was that when he was still on terrestrial radio?
Yeah, he was Sirius. Yeah, he was still on his own show. Yeah. Yeah. And the power of that, story short, is, my coach told me you need less than 5 minutes or it's going to go in the wrong direction, because it's all about get the guest and, embarrassing you or going, controversial, something like that. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't promote books. Right. And so I got 4.5 minutes. And then Howard says to me, I don't promote books. Yeah. And I said, yeah, you promote all kinds of stuff that's like, I don't even want to talk about it now. And I even kind of cut him down. I cut him down. I said, I blew up his ego and saying, you're a great marketer. I saw your movie, Private Parts. Yeah. And it's, you were believing what you were wanting to promote on radio, and you kept getting fired from one job to the next. But I know you had a wife and a baby on the way, and you believed in what you were standing for, whether people believe in what you do or not. I respect that. And I respect that you're an amazing marketer. You're definitely a shameless self-promoter. Yeah. And he goes, oh yeah. Cause I could hear his ego blowing up. And then I had to go, bam, I got to hit it. Cause that's what they do. They kind of attack somebody. So I said, but Howard, here's what I don't respect is that you degrade women on your show. And then I heard like a few seconds of crickets. And then he came back respecting me. I could not believe the turnaround. Yeah, and then he's like, okay, well, tell me some fun stories in your book. And then I told him a few fun stories. And then he goes, I don't promote books, but I'm going to promote this book. Everybody needs to be a little shameless. And then he put the book out, said the book, and then 1 hour on Amazon bestseller. Easiest bestseller ever, really, I guess. Yeah. And in a short 4.5 minutes again, put it that way. And I kept my clothes on and professionalism intact. That was the most important thing.
Yes. And I've always studied people who have to interview. All right. For me. And I was listening to, we were driving through the Indiana on the way to Pennsylvania when I heard an interview of that someone was interviewing Howard Stern. And he was talking about when he went to Sirius Radio, he had to learn to interview people, because up until then, his controversy sold everybody on the show. But when controversy didn't matter, because now he can say and do whatever he wants, he had to learn to interview people. And I'm like, wow. All right. And he talked about how he had to study that. So that's when I learned to study interviewing people.
And that's so true. Right. It was all just controversy, get the guest, or, shock jock. That was the whole idea how it started. And then later, he did that. I don't believe in a lot of things that he does, but, having the opportunity to be on there shows the power of the media for sure. And I also had an opportunity to call him out, and he respected that, because I knew that if you play it like every other interview, they're just going to attack you. Like, you're too nice. You can't go on there being nice. It's a different thing. So that's like anything. You do your homework and you go, well, what's the style here that I need to match?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So, and, when we study things like, how the world's progressed and everything, with the pandemic, did you immediately go to booking virtual speaking, or did you struggle with it?
I was already doing quite a bit of virtual, because, I was wanting to travel as much, but I would do a kind of a hit and miss, webinar when I felt like it, kind of a thing. So I pivoted really quickly, okay, who can I reach out to? And I was almost like, I felt like I was an island by myself, because, as doing this, people didn't want to talk about it. It's 2 years now. And I just spoke to a president of a National Speaker Chapter, and he goes, it was actually New York. He said, we had 150 members and we now have 25. people just completely left the business.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's crazy, because they only looked at the business in one way, not being an expert who speaks to sell other, coaching and services or other things you can do. But that was pretty shocking for one of the biggest chapters in the country, but it was kind of like a secret thing, right? So I started reaching out to experts that I knew and some that I had met through other people. And I said, let's do a masterclass together. Let's start just educating people. We didn't sell anything. We just got on and started educating. So they would promote my list if I was on their show, kind of like a podcast, but more of a educational one. And then I started getting clients from that. And then I started doing more online stuff. And now this year, it'll be 95% of my business will be totally online. We're taking our whole conference room here and turning it into a studio. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I mean, I've been on the road. I've done all those things. It was really hard, Tim, though, to accept that, because my recognition in this business has been stages and events and international travel, and to say, I can still do that, but I'm going to do it online. I had to go through some mindset shift on that. Yeah. It feels good now, but it was a weird thing at first. Like, I can't give up this. It's going to change. It's going to be different, but our world is here.
Yeah. And some of the weird stuff from it was, it's like, I still think, I think I still have credits on Southwest Airlines from flights I had to cancel.
Of course. Yeah. I have a lot of those. Yes.
Yeah. But I remember an interview I did. I interviewed Larry Wingett probably around 2013 on one of my earlier shows. And I asked Larry this question. I said, Larry, I mean, do you love what you do? And he said, no, I hate what I do. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, my job is I got to get up in the morning, go to an airplane. I got to go through security. I got to get on an airplane, crowd in with a bunch of people. And, he went through the whole hassle of travel.
Yep.
And he said, all for that 1 hour talk I get to give that I enjoy.
Exactly. And travel has just gotten harder, and it's not the same way. People look at my life back then and the glamorous. You've been, okay, today you're in, Sydney, Australia. Tomorrow you're in Singapore. Next week you're in Dubai. I mean, my life was like, but it was a different time then. I'm glad I've had those experiences. But now I speak to people all over the world without leaving home. I just need to look good from the waist up.
I did I remember my first virtual speech. I took a picture because I had my suit and jacket on and my pajama bottoms. And I'm like, I love it. I can do this for the first time. And actually my first live event that I finally got back live was in November. And what I did was I really went in the bathroom before I came out, and I put my pajamas over my clothes. And I basically, I had a nice shirt on, but pajama bottoms and slippers. So I walk up onto the stage and I go, oh, wait, we're not doing the Zoom thing?
I love it.
Oh, everybody thought that was pretty cute, but I was like, I wanted to play, and I just pulled it over my pants. I just pulled them right back off. But like, I wanted to do that as to go, oh, wait, we got to do. But when I had Bob Berg on, I think it was last May, he was on my podcast. He said to me, I will never travel to speak again.
Yeah.
He said, in Bob Berg's name, he probably doesn't have to. He can do virtual and say, you want me? This is how you get me. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. I just did that. I just turned 2 speaking engagements down. I said, this is, if you're offering some virtual opportunities and master classes or whatever, I'd be happy to do that, but I will not be on a plane to get to New York or anything like that.
New York's always been my own.
Reach a level of expertise to where people accept that. You can, and that's the cool thing about it, is that as an expert, as somebody that does this kind of business, is you should be in a position, especially when you've had many years in this business, to pick and choose what you want to say yes and no to, and how you want to do it, and how you want to do your business lifestyle. Because I've always said to myself, if it's not fun, I'm not going to do it anymore. Yeah. And that's when it was time to reinvent.
Yeah. You mentioned New York. New York has always been off limits for me. I don't want to go to New York City.
No.
Before this. And I remember years ago saying, James Malinchak is where I learned this from. He basically said there was a place he didn't like. So he set a real high price to go there. So, and I actually I want to say just 3 weeks ago, turned down New York. And I'm like, no. And and they were up in the price to get me to come. And I'm like, no, not interested. I think my price now is like, you want to pay me $100,000? I'll go. I'll put up with the BS to go for $100,000. But for my regular speaker fee? No way.
Yeah, I mean, it is, I've raised my fees. I doubled my speaking fee. And even then I still pick and choose, because once you learn how to do this business and make money in another way,
Yeah.
you have to look at that differently.
Yes.
I do get the high off the stage. Like, do you in front of an audience and have that feeling of the audience's energy. I mean, I'll always love that. And I became very good at that. And but I also like to learn new things and challenge myself. And taking this whole Zoom to a whole nother professional level with an in-home studio is a challenge for me, and it's exciting. And there's new technology out there. And so people think that I can just hop on Zoom and I can be doing this. No, I mean, you have to be a pro, whether you're a pro on a stage, whether you're a pro on a podcast, whether you're the pro on a Zoom teaching. I mean, you have to show up as a professional. If you decide you're going to pick the level of being an expert, it's how you show up every single time.
Exactly. So I did, yeah. Then in 2020, with the way things were, I didn't travel as much, so I needed tax deductions. So I built my studio out.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
And in 2021, my cats didn't like it, so they destroyed half of it, and I had to rebuild it again. Anyway.
Well, I was in New York for a whole week doing networking events and a mastermind event, and it was in December of 2019, just before the pandemic. It was still happening, but we didn't know it yet, right? And I came back from that trip going, that was so hard. How can people live in this city? It is so hard to get around. The weather was terrible. And I was lost half the time and I absolutely hated it. And I said, I'm done. So, I was pretty done in my head before the pandemic hit. So, we at first thought, okay, it's just going to be a little bump in the road and then we'll be over it. Oh, just 2 weeks. What do you mean, lock us down for 2 weeks? You crazy? And now it's just out of control. It's beyond what it started to be. But then we have to look at the positive things. That's all we can do, because it's all we can control is the positive things of how can you decide to do your business differently versus saying there isn't as much opportunity or this problem and this problem exists. I mean, that does you absolutely no good at all. You have to look at saying what has shifted and what are different ways that I can now challenge myself to learn and do things differently. If I take the time to learn the new skills and position myself differently, then it will all pay off. And I'll have the lifestyle of my dreams, being able to be anywhere I want in the world and still being connected when I want.
Yeah. Well, there's two questions I want to finish up with, because I always like to ask these ones. Number one, when I was in my early 20s, I had a boss who gave me a job advice that turned out to be life advice because it impacted my life. And that was, at the time, he told me to run my shift at the job like I owned the business, which caused Tim to take ownership of everything he does. Did someone give you a job advice, life advice that turned out to be something you now live your life by?
I mean, there's a couple, so I'm just trying to analyze that.
Well, I love it when there's a couple.
Don't make it more than just a hobby. Be serious about your business and do that. I would say, just reinventing yourself. Like, when it's hard, when you're just marketing and it's just you're not getting business, that's time to reinvent. When the world around you changes and you can't do anything about it, it's time for you to reinvent. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, especially an expert entrepreneur, which is a public figure, you need to reinvent on a regular basis. You need to be ahead of the curve. So you're kind of like the futurist. You have to be able to see into the future. And I think that, I have a business. I'm kind of a business intuitive, just because I've been in the business so long. I mean, how many people can say they, 50 years in business, as an entrepreneur? It's pretty crazy. And I just have an innate sense of when I see things coming or how things need to be shifted. That's a gift. And I think we have to pay attention to our gifts. And we also need to pay attention when it's hard or when it's not fun. You need to invest in yourself again and go get some business help with your marketing and your messaging, your positioning, because it should flow. And that's my word of the year, Tim, is flow. Everything should flow in the direction that I want. The marketing pays off. The right things that you do, the funnels start flowing. And when I chose that word at the beginning of the year, it was because I felt mentally and physically exhausted. and I was tired of having to push down on the gas pedal so hard. I've been doing for so many years, and said, just get everything in the works, create more systems, and go with the flow. And it's working.
Cool. So I know that you do events, all right, and as well as I do. What event are you still doing live, or are you going to virtual? And what events do you got coming up?
I was doing highly paid expert workshop. I'm doing that for 10 years. And I was doing that mostly live until the pandemic hit. I did one live in October, which was too soon. People are still weird about coming out, and I don't blame them, especially because not even like traveling. They're going, wait, look at all the expensive traveling there's, if I can do a really good workshop online, I can learn the same thing. And if I can find my mentor and they can work with them. So I think that it's shifted people because they don't have to travel as much because of the information that is online.
Yeah.
So after that, I said, okay, next year, Highly Paid Expert Workshop is completely virtual. It'll be a virtual worldwide event. So the next one coming up is March 18th and 19th. And it's you can go to highlypaidexpertworkshop.com, see it there. It's going to be a very upscale, cool online workshop where you're coming and really doing the workshop work. With a lot of great interaction and networking, as if we created a live event without leaving home. Cool. An amazing experience, and learn a lot about how to really position yourself for a lot more success. So that one I'll always keep running, but again, it's more virtual. I do a couple smaller groups where I teach people to be speakers and sell. And I love those because those are very transformational. And we videotape them with their presentation, videotape them with their offer, and then I walk through the slides and teach them exactly what to say and what to do. And that's how I learned it. You can't puzzle piece that. You have to kind of really involve yourself in learning that. And speaking and selling is a different modality than being, like a keynote speaker, just education or a trainer. It's about my goal to speak is to make an offer to get clients. Yeah. So those are the things that I do. And then so the Highly Paid Expert Workshop really teaches you how to position yourself, how to start as an expert, and all the steps, and then all the income streams that you can create around it. So it really blows you away because we actually work on the business plan in the workshop. So you leave with a business plan. So it's very, very cool. And so those are the two things I think that are really transformational that I do, and I'll continue to do that work.
Awesome. So, well, before you go, I want to know what's the best website that they can find you at?
Hey, right there, debbieallen.com. I like that one. Yeah. So you get on there, you can find out about my mentoring programs. You can find out about my upcoming events. Click on those pages. There's also a free gift on that homepage that will help you get started on expert positioning. If you click on that, you'll get a video to walk you through the process. You'll get that action guide, the steps to take to build your expertise and position you. And you'll get that business plan so you can get started, and then you'll be on my list, and you'll get an invitation to come to that workshop that I was talking to you about as well.
Cool. So, and I love it that you got your name.com, because it's the first thing I teach people in branding. If you don't own your own name.com, you don't own your own name. So anyway.
Well, I had that one since 1997. So yeah, I got it before the dancer, the famous Fame.
Before the dancer, yeah, I know. I had to wait till another Tim Gillette gave mine up, and I finally got it from him. So anyway, I forgot to pay it once, and I got it finally. And I won't give it up now. Well, before you go, Debbie, all right, I play this game with every one of my guests. I have 7 envelopes in here, and inside the 7 envelopes, there's questions that are this or that, kind of fun way to end it. Pick 3 numbers between 1 and 7.
3, 2, and 7.
And 7. So you're not going to know what's in these ones, but we are going to find these
ones.
Huh?
Yes, those were the easy ones.
I know. But I know. Anyway, so now what we do is we open the envelope up, and I ask you the question, and you may get the boy questions, you may get the girl questions, but I'm sure there's going to be some stories told in the last couple minutes. Question number 1 in envelope number 3 is ice cream cone or snow cone?
Oh, ice cream cone all the way, no doubt.
I can almost put an addition onto that. Is it vanilla or chocolate? Which one's your favorite?
Dairy Queen vanilla.
Oh.
Simple girl, love it.
My friend Craig Duswalt, who moved here, he keeps trying to tell me about Carvel in New York, and I remember Carvel basically when I lived in New York, but very little. But Dairy Queen, I love Dairy Queen's ice cream.
Well, that's like a Midwest staple. Like,
It is.
there was nothing to do in my little town in Indiana, so it was like everybody went to the Dairy Queen, like lines, and you would see the whole town there at Dairy Queen. That was the biggie.
Yep, yep. I remember that. Yeah, we had a sound like that too.
And I
So
have a whole Dairy Queen story. It's quite interesting because I actually remember, like, I went back there to visit the family after I'd been in Arizona maybe 10 years or something. And then this microphone, it cracked me up. It's like, here's the microphone, right? It's a Dairy Queen and just like girls talking in the microphone. And it's like, small vanilla cone or whatever it was, right? And she's putting the whole order through and she's talking to like somebody like standing right behind her, but she's talking to the microphone. I said, hey, give me that microphone. And so I grabbed the microphone and I was just making, who knows what I said. I don't know. It's just something funny. All my nieces were cracking up. But I guess I was destined to have the microphone. That's from an early age.
So no, this is where Zig told me I was destined to be a speaker because I'm the guy who I walked this after 9/11 happened. This is what I did one time. I'm a Christian and I felt inclined. I walked into an elevator when we were going up in a building and I turned around because I was the very first and I turned around and I said, guys, our country's going through a lot right now. Let's take this couple moments and have a moment of silence for our country and for the people we lost at 9/11. And everybody come up, thank you for doing that. And I'm like, that's just something that inspired me.
Powerful.
And Zig said, Tim, you're willing to do stuff like that on a whim. That's why you should be a speaker. And I'm like, okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. Question number 2, what is worse to do at your house, laundry or dishes?
Ugh, I don't really like either one of those, but I will do dishes because my husband's an amazing cook.
Yeah.
I don't cook anything. Like he hears the microwave go on, he gets nervous. Like you put in the right time. Or I'm heating up a Marie Callender's pot pie. He's like, let me put that in for you. Like, you're going to mess that up, which is probably what I would do. So, so I'll do dishes when I have a gourmet cook. Like, no problem there.
Yeah. Now, I hate both, but I do dishes all the time because my wife's not here half the time. So,
he has to do his own laundry because he did mine once, and I had, different color pants and a shrunken sweater. And I'm like, okay, here's the new rules. I'm doing mine and you're doing yours. Yeah. Do not touch.
Yeah. All my shirts go to the cleaner. All my pants I wash in the washer. Yeah. All my shirts cleaner. So question number 3 in this envelope. Pancakes or waffles?
That's tough. Okay. I knew there was a hard one. Okay. My husband, again, a gourmet cook. He has this feather light waffle mix that is killer, right? His waffle, I would have to go waffles because that's where it started, right? And so he will have, when he has people over, he'll have like 4 waffle machines going at the same time. And they're like Krispy Kreme donuts, like melt in your mouth, but they're waffles. And he can use the same recipe on pancakes, but the waffles really are amazing. Like I think people come and spend VIP days with me to stay in my guest house just to get the waffles and his homemade granola. Right there. I mean, so that's like the bonus. Hey, how about me? I worked with you all day on a strategic business plan, and they're talking about the food, but it's all part of it.
Yeah. For me, Debbie, I wished I would have gotten my grandmother's. She made buckwheat pancakes, and I wished I would have got the recipe before she passed away. She would not share it with anyone. Anyway.
Wow, not even the family. Jeez.
Yeah. I got her pierogi recipe, but we're Polish. I got the pierogi recipe, but not the pancakes.
There you go.
Yeah. Second envelope number 2. Question number 1. In your car, do you listen now to podcast or music?
Neither. I'm like that. Well, I will listen to audiobooks, like if I'm doing like a road trip or a podcast or an audiobook. But I'm just like, inundated with all the noise all the time, being on calls and Zoom and everything. So when I get in my car, I just want quiet, like nothing.
Yeah. My office is now quiet. Like I'm quiet during the day, but in the car, I have something going on. And it's interesting that when I drove truck in the early 90s, I drove 18-wheeler and I used to listen to cassette tapes. We would go to the truck stop. You would rent the cassette tape and return it to another truck stop. And it was books. And I listened to books on tape while I thought that was awesome.
Cool. Now it's everywhere now, right? And you just need your phone with you for Audible.
That's it. You can do Audible on your phone, yeah.
Yeah, and if I play music I love, like sometimes I got my Pandora going. If I really rock it out with my own music, I play that. But I tend to speed, and that's not good for when you get a lot of tickets.
Question number 2. You did get the female question, and that is high heels or boots?
Boots.
Boots? Now, you know, I live in Texas. What kind
and
of
that's
boots
just what I'll do.
Yeah. Yeah. Down here in Texas, we into boots, you know. And I was telling somebody this morning, I got 12 pair of custom Western boots
Wow.
that I have. And it's only because I talked to Larry Wingett and he told me he had 100. And I said, I want to beat you someday. And he said,
He's got some
go
killer
for it.
boots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
100. Oh my God, bragging about that.
I don't know if I'm going to get that far, but anyway.
I don't think you need to.
Yeah. Question number 3 in this envelope. At the movies, would you rather get popcorn or candy?
Oh my gosh, popcorn. I'm drooling about. I can go see a bad movie just for the popcorn. Yeah. Give me the lounge chair now and the popcorn, and I'm good. It's great. You know, it's one of my weaknesses. Growing up in Indiana, we had the Oval Redenbacher Popcorn Festival, and it was like, you know, it just almost every night we had popcorn.
Yeah.
Like growing up, it was a terrible thing to teach your children to eat that. Wrecks your digestive system later in life. But I that's like great. Like when you have like a scary movie. Like it's just like I take it fistfuls and just shoving it in my mouth. It's just like, oh, that's heaven.
Butter and salt, you nail all that stuff
yeah.
out too. Yeah, heck yeah. You only live once.
That's true.
Envelope number 7.
Our last 10 questions.
I told you it's only 9, believe it or not.
Oh, there's a bunch in. I thought there was like one question in each thing.
It's like 3 questions per envelope. So 9 questions total. So this one here has got the fun one. Now you get the boy question. Boxers or briefs?
Briefs.
I
just can't go there. Just went visually, so I got to stop on that one.
I had a gentleman on one time. We went 35 minutes over on the podcast talking about the underwear we've worn over the years, and I'm like, only I could have a business podcast and talk with another guy about his underwear. Anyway.
You don't share that. You guys don't share that stuff. Girls talk about all those things.
Yeah.
Guys together, they don't go, hey, tell me about your underwear. What's your favorite? Like, it's just not conversations that guys talk about. So, yeah, he probably just had you open the window and he just, wow.
Anyway, I could talk to, as you can tell, I could talk to pretty much anybody about anything. That's just the way
I think so.
Yeah. Question number 2, Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Yeah, me too.
Diet cherry Coke. Oh my gosh. But I know I can't have very much of that. So, but that with popcorn. Oh yeah. Let's go to the movies.
Yeah. Now we know what we're doing after this today. We're going to the movies. So question number 3, our last question of the day is hotel or camping?
I am not a camper, not even a glamper. Okay. It is a hotel and a nice hotel. I did some really bad camping days growing up that were just horrific. That scarred me for life. So that was a really easy question. I even told my husband, I said, because we have a couple friend that sold their home and bought a big camper and they're living in it and traveling all over. And it's like, well, great for them. But I'm like, I would just think about that. And it's like, seems horrific to me. Like, oh my gosh, I'd have to have this little tiny closet. My closet is like the size of a bedroom. Yeah. I just couldn't even imagine, doing that. So I said, please don't ever come up with the idea that you want to go buy a motorhome or go camping. It's just don't ever come up with that idea. Like it's never going to work ever. He goes, can I even rent one? I go, maybe for a week. And that'd be a little stretch. Maybe it better be good, but I'll take the higher end hotel, especially having to travel as much as I have. Like, even when I met him, he would buy like cheaper hotels. I'm like, no, we're not staying there anymore.
I'm like Marriott loyal, and I'm like,
I am too.
Suites or above. Yeah. Anyway, but my wife, she would rather go camping, and I say my idea of a camping trip is a 4-star hotel.
Yeah, I'd be with you on that one for sure. Yeah, don't have to worry about bugs and things crawling in there or sleeping on rocks. And oh God, I've done all that. Yeah, we grew up and we had a tent. We had campers and tents. But I remember one horrific event we took, and the tent had collapsed. The top, there was like a hook where it hooked the top of it in, and that came down. It was like a cone, and the water just poured in, and we were going through this terrible rainstorm. And we woke up that morning completely drenched. It was like the first day of the trip. We had brand new sleeping bags and we turned green. Our bodies were green. Our clothes were green, all the dye from the sleeping bags. Well, we remember the story, but I don't want to live that again.
So, all right. Well, Debbie, I do appreciate you taking time out of your schedule today. Come in here and share with my audience your story, a little bit about what you do and some great history on your life. I appreciate that. So Really, thank you so much for being a guest today.
My pleasure. So fun. You did make it fun. You promised that, and it was very, very fun. And I think I passed the test. I answered all the questions. So thanks, everyone. I look forward to you as the listeners to following me as well and supporting you coming up. So thanks, Tim. And I'll have you on my show. Let's reach out and get you on my Access to Experts podcast.
Cool. So to you guys, listeners, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. All right, please go check out DebbieAllen.com. All right, go get that freebie from her and check out her new events coming up, her events that's coming up, but it's another event, but she's been doing them for years. I'm Tim Gillette, and I want to thank you all for being here. I will be back next week with another great guest. In the meantime, guys, have a great day. Bye.